What's up, everyone? It's been a little while with Strictly Kayak Fishing, but we're here to talk about some exciting upcoming events, maybe a little bit about the schedule. And I'm here with Chris Anderson. What's up, dude?
What's going on, Billy?
Not much. I know before we hit record, we were talking about your t-shirt and we were reminding each other how we basically wear these CKF, OKF, Strictly Sail t-shirts every day. And I
Every day.
know, yeah, we said it before. I think we even when you were on here before, like we talked about it way too much, but I always think it's funny. So um if you buy a membership to CKF or OKF and you buy it early enough while supplies last, you will get a free t-shirt and they're so comfy. So go buy your membership. It helps with the trail. It helps, get some of those expenses down, up, or I don't know which way they go. It helps the trail.
It helps the trail. It
Yeah,
returns more to you.
that's right. So, yeah, man, it's I know I feel like every time we start recording, I always want to comment on the time of year or what and it kind of gets old, but it's like I'm gonna say it anyway. I can't believe it's already the 24th of January. Time flies.
Absolutely. We need it. I mean, as cold as it's been, the time of year, I'm going back to think of the last time I got on the water, and it's been too long.
Yeah, I went out. My buddy and I, Parker, we do a thing where we do a muskie trip every Christmas. I think we did it 4 years in a row, and we still haven't caught a muskie, Christmas muskie, but that doesn't stop us from going out. And that was the last time I went out. And then he went out the next day and invited me, but I didn't go. And then he caught a 20-inch smallmouth on the 26th of December.
It's a nice way to end the year. It's
Yeah.
been, it was probably mid-December the last time I went out, and I can only look at my boat so much before I need to go. I might in February, end of February, just drive down to Tennessee for a weekend
Oh,
and
nice.
fish in Tennessee somewhere south because I got to get on the water.
Where do you have a Tennessee spot that is a favorite?
I don't. I want to definitely I want to hit it and learn. The Knoxville area's got a lot close to it. I did fish one. Just worked out with a vacation um, a KBF event that was down there, and it was on the Holston River. And I had never fished it before. I caught three fish. It was fun. I picked a great spot to go. I think the fish were there to do better. Um, but that current was moving. Like it was everything. I didn't have a motor yet, and it was everything that I could do to stay in place and actually fish. It was one of those things where you stopped, and by the time you would measure a fish, you'd be 150 yards downriver.
Yeah, I had similar experience when we went down to Georgia. We fished the Flint River of the Kayak Adventure Series,
Mm-hmm.
and I tried to go upstream, and I was pedaling. I was in my compass, and I was not moving. I was like, all right, this isn't gonna work. So, but I'm actually looking into getting an Outback, and then that will have a motor on it.
Nice.
Yeah, because the PA is just it's kind of big to take on trips like that. So
Yep.
I'm
Well,
down for whatever.
definitely for the river, the skinnier water. Outback's an awesome boat. I'm just a little too big for it.
Okay. I've never been in an Outback, but I always see people like ocean fishing, and it seems pretty versatile. I know it has the Guardian plate, so you
Yep.
can mount a fish finder, and that's the retractable for anyone not familiar with Hobie. It's the retractable. It doesn't shoot through the hull. It's actually drops down. And then it also has I don't know, it has a lot of good stuff. It kind of reminds you of like the best of both worlds between a PA and a compass. The other thing I was going to say, you talked about maybe going down to Tennessee. You really just want to go to Bucky's and get some brisket, right?
I'm actually um I do their brisket is great, but they're why can't I think the name kolaches? I lived in Texas for 3 years and kolaches in Houston, and kolaches were a big thing down there. Now Bucky's doesn't have the best. There are just a lot of little shops down there that have them in these hot dog or not hot dog donut stores. And they have so many different kinds that they have down there that are outside of the menu that you see at Bucky's. That I go with Bucky's for kolaches rather than the brisket.
Oh, there you go. Those stores are so big. I know everyone talks about it when they go. They're always stopped at Bucky's, whatever. But um, and there's always a gas pump open. There's not a Bucky's commercial. Strictly Sail is the only one that supports supports the trails. Not But all right, man. Let's just jump in and well, CKF has a bunch of sponsors. I'm not getting in all that, but yeah. Let's see. So one of the events, upcoming events with Strictly Sail and Kayak. So the Tri-State Outdoor Show is already in the past. We have the Cincinnati Fly Fishing Show on February 1st. That's just a one day. Yep, one day event, Saturday from 9 to 4. And then we have the Columbus Fishing Expo the following weekend, Super Bowl weekend, February 7th through the 9th. So that's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And it closes early on Sunday at 3 o'clock. So you'll still be home in plenty of time to watch the Bills. See what I did there?
I absolutely agree. I think it's going to be. Who do you want to see? I wouldn't mind seeing Washington. Bills in Washington.
That would be good. I feel like it would be a throwback to the 90s. But then I was like, wait a minute. When Washington won, was that Denver or was it the Bills? Can't remember. Should have looked it up.
I kind of feel like weren't they in the AFC before? I feel like they were in the AFC and then switched over. But no, that's not right.
No.
Doug Williams. That's not even close to being right. But
no.
No, I don't remember who they beat. But
somebody is listening to this yelling at us right now.
That's typical.
Yeah, it could have been the. Oh no, I was going to say Niners. They're in the NFC. I bet it was Denver.
I think it was the Broncos.
Yeah, with Elway. Okay, so that's that, and then there's a whole month gap until the next expo event, and that's going to be the Cincinnati Boat and RV Expo, March 7th, 8th, 9th. And that is also a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's always fun to go to the boat and RV show, especially when we see so many fishing. And I love the fishing expo. I could stay there like all day and just keep walking around in circles. But there's something cool about some of those RVs. Can't afford any of them, but
no, you can't afford them. But it's like the ultimate kayak hauler. Yeah. Even some of the smaller ones, you kind of get some ideas from them sometimes. Hey, I could maybe do this off my trailer, bring this, but the rigs that you imagine to make pulling up to the lake, camping with zero worries, zero discomforts, air conditioning, and I would do a lot more camping if I had a lot more air conditioning.
Skidmore kind of has a new rig now. He's got the tent on top of his camper,
on top of the trailer. And I mean, he designed that thing for a year and a half, and it was cool seeing it come together. And it was at the Cincinnati CKF TOC this year. We had a campsite right next to him, and he's got that awesome rig, and it's Skidmore versus me, right? He's got everything that's laid out perfect with the plan. I show up, didn't bring a tent, sleep in the back of my truck. The air mattresses. I didn't bring a sleeping bag. I just brought a quilt my grandma made for me in college, and I end up buying $87 the next night or the next day at Dollar General, and 3 foot by 5 foot blankets because that's all they had there because I froze my butt off.
Yeah, you didn't need the air conditioning then. That would be the best time of year to have that rooftop tent, But yeah, that's a funny story. Where was the TOC? Oh, Indian.
It was Indian.
Yeah,
and it was cold. It got pretty daggone cold.
Yeah. How'd you do? And do you fish Indian much?
I hit half a day of practice, and that was the second day I've ever been on Indian.
Okay.
So I do not. Last year's OKF event earlier in the season, I was there. I actually did pretty well. I think I finished 7th or 8th that day, and that was the first time I'd ever been there. So I went in and it was kind of like my year in general. I didn't fish clean. I think I finished in the back third, 13th, 14th, somewhere around there. Just didn't fish clean on day one. I should have had a limit. I think I ended up maybe with 4 fish, nothing of any size. And I stuck good fish in practice. That's what was kind of frustrating. The wind picked up quite a bit uh, on on the first for yeah from the first day as I was there, and I found stuff, and I just didn't fish it the same way that I did before with the same patience. I spun out, and but it's I think Indian's got the potential to be a great lake. I like it. I just haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah. And then that OKF event, that's where it rained. It was spring and it rained all day. Is that one?
I don't think it rained all day, but it was windy. Like it was bad windy. I think it rained some, and it rained like heavy the day before
Oh yeah.
because I was up and went up one of the creeks, and it was the one of the biggest mud lines I've ever seen between where I was and up in that little marina.
Yeah. And then we had the next tournament was windy and the next one was windy. We were just hitting a bad run of wind.
Every every weekend it was. I mean,
Oh, that was.
CJ Brown was rough. East Fork was rough because I was like 32 degrees. I couldn't throw any of my bait casters at East Fork because my eyelets were freezing. So
Wow.
I had to go all spinning gear for at least until about 11 o'clock.
I think CJ Brown was the first time I did not feel safe in my PA. I tried to cut across the lake and not a good idea. I felt safer like out on Lake Erie a couple times than that. It was really windy.
There
Uh,
was a couple. I think there was one angler who sunk that day, but I think it was more of a user error with the conditions on a bow mounted trolling motor. So it was kind of a perfect storm with that. But that was a tough day to stay in position, tough day to fish because there isn't a lot of places you can get out of the wind at CJ.
yeah, and then everyone is there with you, like
Yes.
everyone's tucked into the same little spots. What events for CKF? What events are you think you're looking forward to this year?
This year, I'm actually really looking forward to Brookville. I think Brookville hits at the right time, and our season feels like it's a little front loaded. We start, and then we've got between CKF and OKF. It's almost every weekend. CKF Brookville this year. Last year I fished whitewater to try to shrink the field and catch the fish, and I ended up spending too much time on spawning fish that just weren't biting. So I'm going to go to the big lake, but I think we're catching that at a really good time this year. Um, so that's the one I'm looking forward to, and I think actually Acton when that's hitting is gonna be a good one.
Is that the week because OKF kicks off at Alum Creek April 5th? Is Brookville the weekend before that?
I think no, that's Caesar's Creek.
Oh, okay.
So that last weekend in March is Caesar's Creek. I think we hit it in early May, like late April, early May. I think it's actually um, the weekend after OKF East West Harbor. So maybe like May 12th.
Okay. Yeah.
So I like that time of year there.
Oh yeah. I've never fished Brookville. Maybe this would be a good year to do it.
I like it. It's a big lake. It's a big lake. It's a long, skinny lake, but there's a great mix of it. It's kind of like a poor man's alum, but if you hit it the right day, it can be just as good. Um, so
And
I
then
think it's very similar, a little bit less smallmouth than alum.
okay. Yeah. You're not wrong though. The schedule being, and I'm just looking at the OKF schedule, but I mean, it's kind of, I like the way we did the schedule where there's one tournament every month.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Alum, then East West, then Portage is the June tournament. Nimisila, Wingfoot, Mogador. Have you ever fished Wingfoot?
I've never fished north of alum.
Oh,
those are the OKF and, the old BKFT stuff that I just couldn't get it and make that commitment because, I was still kind of learning to go that far and keeping more focus on the CKF end of it. Just easier with 13-year-old and a wife and a job that, those trips are a day commitment the day before if you want to even, not go in blind.
Yeah, and it's like we really do need to stay sometimes. Me anyway. I don't want to speak for everyone else, but there's times where I've driven home after one of those, tournaments that are up further up north, and it's not safe. Like I'll have to stop and take a nap. I had an angler call my phone. He was like, "Hey, are you okay? I saw you on the side of the road." I was like, "Oh, I'm just kind of sleepy," so felt smarter to just stop and take a break.
Yeah, and we're up at 3:30 in the morning, starting the day, and depending on where you're driving,
Yeah.
you're not home. It's a 18-hour day.
Well, are you speaking of not to keep jumping back and forth, but back to the expo? Are you going to be at the Columbus?
I'll definitely be at the Columbus. I'll probably be a little bit at the fly fishing show. Columbus Expo is awesome. Just be able to see the people that you haven't seen fishing, to be able to support, a small family business that takes care of us. I mean, it's at the end of the day, Strictly Sail sponsors OKF and CKF, and without them, it would be there probably because somebody would pick it up, but it wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't be the same. We wouldn't have the same support, and being able to be there and kind of work the show, talk to people with Strictly is awesome because it's they're doing the stuff that we all love and
Yeah,
for us, and it's can't say enough about it.
exactly. So make sure, we have some regular listeners to this Strictly Kayak podcast, but if it's the first time you're listening, if you've met us but you really don't know us that well, come over to the booth and introduce yourself. Us, who Skidmore, like Tacey's will be there. Like there's
The
so many
Tasty's be
people.
there. Bird will be there.
Yep. And
Um, Grimsley will probably be up. Melissa's might be working, but the core group, a part of the core group that you see at every one of the tournaments. And there's nothing we like to do more than talk about fishing at kayaks.
right. Yeah, they didn't have to twist our arm very much to go to the expo and talk about fishing and kayak fishing. Like,
When you haven't been able to do it for a month and a half, yeah,
yeah,
I guess it's the second best thing you can do outside of doing it.
yep, for sure. And then I don't have it yet. I have to go pick it up. I bought one of those Yakima topwater um fishing box.
Okay.
Yeah, I bought it. Strictly Sail had it, and I think they still have one more. So if you've been kicking around the idea of buying a top water, I think that's what it's called, right? Yeah, Yakima top water. If you've been kicking around the idea, I already have a bed rack, so like a ladder rack, so
Mm-hmm.
it'll just bolt right on.
Right on the top of it.
Yep, and then I'll just leave it. And when I take my compass will just be off to the side now.
Yep.
And if my bigger boats just go in the bed of my truck anyway. And if you're in the market for one of those, um,
How long is that?
you know what? I started the research like 3 years ago, and I kind of sold myself on this will work for what I need it. And then they're not cheap. So I kind of got away from, I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. So I don't have all the specs on it, unfortunately, but, um, snap a couple rod tips by leaving them in the boat or shutting them in the door. And you start to go, wait a minute, it's expensive, but or I like go into the restroom on a long trip, like run in a gas station and my rods are out in my kayak. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
a little nervous.
I'm lucky. I've got uh, I've got a cover on my truck,
Oh
so
yeah.
I can lock that, and that's an awesome part of it. Kind of to have a cap is kind of old manish. I felt like between that and the gray hair, it's like shoot, you're on the wrong side of it, but it's really useful.
I was trying to pull up on their website. They're just giving me a lot of cool pictures. Let's see, 8 fishing rods up to 8 feet long.
Wow.
All my rods are under 8 feet, so we're good. Yeah, and of course it locks. So there you go. Yay. Anyway,
You fish
if you
how many rods? How many rods do you fish with when you're out on the boat?
Usually on a tournament day, like 15. No, just kidding. Too many though. I take 10 to 12 sometimes.
Oh wow,
Too many.
that's a
But
lot.
yeah, I would like to. I need to cut it back. So, how many do you take?
8, and typically only one spinning now. I've almost gotten away from throwing spinning gear at all.
Oh wow. Do you have you ever messed around with the the bait cast, like the small?
The BFS stuff.
Yeah, BFS. Yeah.
I did. I've got a Shimano Scorpion BFS reel, and I picked up one of the BFS rods. I think it's the Icon who makes it Kason. I always say it wrong.
Yeah.
So I started throwing that a little bit last year. I caught fish on a Ned rig on it, which was nice to see if I need to, I can do that. And I caught some fish on smaller, like a quarter hour, like 1/8 ounce head, 1/8 ounce with like a 3.3 in the river. I was catching some smaller smallmouth on that, and without having a pretty thin hook, it had all the power that I needed to do it.
Yeah. Panfish are a lot of fun, and crappie. I have the same rod, and then I just put on like a Cast King just to just get started. But the rod, I bought it from Hamilton Bait and Tackle.
That's where I got mine.
Yeah. So there you go. If you guys are in yeah. I mean, those rods aren't cheap, but if you can get it dialed in, for me, that's the hardest part, is because you're so used to like maybe a roll cast or it's kind of more of like a sweeping cast.
Yeah,
where you'll
you
just
can't roll
backlash.
cast. You can't roll cast it.
No.
I can't yet. I can't roll cast it at all yet. And then I think I probably put it away too many times because I tried to do that, and then I did backlash it. I'm like, nope, I'm going to go back and throw a jig.
Yeah, and during a tournament, you don't have time to start messing around with your reel. That's not good.
Mm-mm.
Nope. All right. Well, listen, man, I told you I wouldn't keep you forever. Just wanted to kind of get your thoughts on the expos coming up. Talk a little bit about fishing, and I guess we can leave it. Well, I mean, I'll let you say some closing words, but I would like to know what our listeners would like to get out of this podcast this year. So we dabbled around last year with doing like a part 1, part 2 with BB Outdoors, where we would record a preview and then we would come back and talk about how wrong I was. And then, but what do you guys want? You guys want to just hear from the winners? Do you want to meet different anglers? So send me an email, BillyKayaks@gmail.com. Just like it sounds, all one word, BillyKayaks@gmail.com. Send me an email and let me know what you would like to get out of this Strictly Kayak Fishing podcast. Yeah. And then, like I promised, anything else from you, Mr. Grimsley?
Oh,
Anderson.
I'm much better
Holy
looking than
moly.
him.
I'm leaving that in.
Yeah, I'm much better looking than him. That's cool.
How,
But
do people mix you guys up?
no, we fish too differently.
Yeah.
I mean, it's part of it, but we are kind of Mutt and Jeff, Batman and Robin, with that. And going back to the shows, the last thing that you want to see, come see us at Columbus, come see us at all the shows, because if it wasn't for this, I mean, he's my best friend. I talk to him 4 or 5 times a week about everything. And without this and without shows and being out there kayak fishing, I wouldn't have that friendship.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think I met you guys at the same time. Maybe that's why I'm.
And we can be a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
when we're there, there's not too many people that don't know we're there.
Yeah, that's why I bought a motor. I was out fishing one time, and you guys were, and I was like, I need a motor so I can get away from these guys. No, I made that up. But all right, everyone, well, come out and see us. maybe I'll do some graphics where I put the show up here. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're not watching on YouTube, you're probably listening on Apple Podcast or Spotify or wherever you get your podcast. But thank you so much, Chris. It was great to catch up and kind of get back in the podcast seat. And yeah, I guess I'll see you in a couple weeks.
Definitely up in Columbus. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
All right, man.
All right. See you, buddy.